that they believe it's up to the organisation how much information they provide to us about the data protection officer. So long as there's a way that a member of the public can contact the data protection office, that's all we require. So it's down to the data controller to provide this information, and we would recommend for them to provide more information, but ultimately it is up to them as the data controller.
Okay, all right.
And that's why there's the difference between the examples you gave me, Ministry of Justice and the City of Bradford. So that's the answer, which kind of makes sense, and I hope that's helpful to you.
Thank you, Paula. I was hoping to speak to you about a related matter, and I think it's kind of related to this matter as well, and it's the aspect of consistency. Now, when we last spoke, when we first spoke, I asked you for your name, and you proceeded to provide me with your full name. And if you recall in that conversation, I was kind of surprised to receive your full name, because my understanding was that, you're not required to give me your full name. Sorry about this. And then I rang up today and I spoke to your colleague. Her name was Hannah. And I equally asked her for a full name. And she said she's not obliged to provide me with her full name. So I'm left in a situation where, I'm as you can appreciate, there should be some level of consistency, and it's the same aspect. I guess the complaint or the queries that I raised with yourself is an aspect of consistency, especially when I'm asking such a fundamental question that I don't mind either way. I mean, if it's a policy of, I'm sorry about this, my birds are just screaming in the background. I'm just going to a different room. Just 1 second, please. Yes, so the question I was trying to raise is that, and I hope you appreciate this, that there should be a consistent policy as an organisation, because when I'm speaking to yourself, I'm effectively speaking to the Information Commissioner's Office as a collective organisation, and I would expect that there would be a consistent policy. And so, could you help me understand this? Because we had quite a conversation upon this, and I thought it was important and relevant for me to have the full name of the person. And so when I spoke to your colleague Hannah today, and she was explaining to me that, I said, well, what about in a situation where I would like to lodge a formal complaint about you? And she said, well, there's only one Hannah, and you'll have to put the date and time in, and I would be identified that way. But I thought, well, isn't that just extra work? And what would be the problem with you identifying your name? And she said, it's like personal information. It's not required in order for me to do my job. And so there's that line of argument, that it's not necessary to provide my full name, and it's my data protection. And can you just assist me with I think as a member of the public, I just want, there should be one answer, a consistent answer. And I thought that our position that we agreed upon, which was much more sustainable, or a much more appropriate, should I say, in the context that I then proceeded to provide your colleague with an example that if I should go to, for example, Tesco's, and somebody's working at the cashier counter, she agreed with me that I can take their photograph and publicise it, as long as it's for personal use. So I said, why would you as a call handler have more rights to anonymity than somebody who would be working in a equally public-facing role? I think my fundamental inquiries in principle is a level of anonymity. And I, as you can appreciate, as a member of the public, have a right to anonymity, because fundamentally in law I have a right to privacy. So I have a right to anonymity. I'm just really struggling to understand the justifications of why, when I'm ringing up a public organisation or public-facing individuals, where they can equally state that we have a right to anonymity. Hence my queries with regards to the name simply of the data protection officer. I found that according to the legislation, that is a legal role or an official officer which is paid, and so therefore that by its very definition should be should be publicly available. Now, for my own personal experience, I know the fact that I, like you, Paula, can go open tomorrow or go start a limited company. All right, you can just anybody can do that. You pay £10, I can start a limited company. I don't know, xyz.com, xyz.limited. But in that position, I then have to register my full name and also the name of the secretary, which is official positions that are getting created. So that has to be registered and made public. So I'm just struggling to understand why the Data Protection Act legislation has made it mandatory, or makes provisions in that section 69 of chapter 4. That the organization should have a data protection officer, and their contact details should be published and obviously made aware to the commissioner's office. And it's just the aspect of why, and we had this discussion last time, why should somebody who's in a seniority position of a data protection officer have a right to anonymity, and yet you, as somebody who's a call handler, saying that you have to give your like it's appropriate to give your full name. So I'm just basically trying to understand. Like, I'm trying to be a law-abiding citizen. I'm trying to understand what the law is. So just for my understanding, I just need some consistency. And so as you can appreciate, I've provided the queries will not. The name of the data protection officer. My query specifically with yourself was that, look, I've gone to your website, I've given you 2 examples of 2 different companies. Now, the Ministry of Justice, like, according to what they've provided, they've actually registered a data protection officer. All right, so this is that if I do a search and I go to the Ministry of Justice on the ICO website, it'll say the name of the data controller and actually the name of the data protection officer. Under those circumstances, they have chosen to have the name of the data protection officer anonymized and just said the Ministry of Justice is the data protection officer. But when I give you the example of Bradford Council, they didn't even have a data protection officer registered with yourself. So it's that aspect. So
they didn't. I know that, Mr. Hussain, but I provided all the details to registration, and I'm quite satisfied with their response in that on our public register there is the name of the controller, and that an individual therefore has contact details and they can address their correspondence for the attention of the data protection officer, and that would reach a relevant person at the City of Bradford Metropolitan District Council. So, yes, I agree with what you say, that there isn't that strict consistency, but both organisations have met their obligations because they've provided the information for contact on our public register. So, I know it's not the ideal answer, but I have checked it, and I was kind of thinking that would be the answer. Okay. The legislation itself, I'm afraid, we can't change. That would be for you to approach your MP to try to get the legislation changed if you feel it is inconsistent.
Well, I don't think the legislation is inconsistent. I think the ICO's interpretation is inconsistent with the principle of the legislation. That's my own personal opinion on the subject. Now, look, I mean, when you're saying that's the information you got back. So today, right now, you and I, or we can sit down and run this. I can go to your do a search on your register, and it gives me the name of the data controller, and it also underneath that it says the name of the data protection officer when I do a search for the Ministry of Justice. Right now, you can just do a search on Bradford Council's website. It says the name of the data controller. It does not provide the name of the data protection officer or any details. It doesn't even provide anything. So it's not published.
Well, it is published on our website, isn't it? And we're regulated for data protection.
Well, let's try that. Let's try that then. Do the search for Bradford Council.
Well, I haven't got access at the moment. Okay. I'm just speaking to you.
Okay,
so
okay.
Okay, no.
But that was the basis of my queries, is that should they have provided something, because obviously the legislation requires them to provide something. And if I had gone to your website and done a search on Bradford Council, and if there was any entry down the data protection, like this is the data protection officer and it's Bradford Council as well, that would have been fine. But there's no entry there, and that's why
that's where you see, our registration team says that it's adequate because they've provided their full title, City of Bradford Metropolitan District Council, and their contact address. And that means anybody can go onto our website, find that information, and write to them for the attention of the data protection manager or the data protection officer in this case. Now, if you have a look at, and as I did, I looked at a few other organisations whilst I was going to write to our registration team.
Okay.
Some organisations quite clearly do this better than others, and there is an inconsistency. However, we say that they've met their obligation. You could ask the question, what does publish mean? Couldn't you? That's not, again, a thing that we're going to discuss now, but for our purposes, Mr. Hussain, our registration team say they are satisfied because that entry is on our public register and an individual can contact the data protection officer at that address.
Okay, that's fair enough, because I mean, obviously my next course of action was to make these inquiries directly, and I have chosen to do so by the what do they know website. So I've already raised these with them. Now, like I said, I've gone to the, I'm sure, I know you don't have access to your computer right now, but I've literally gone to, your website, and I'm on the page for the Ministry of Justice, and it says download registration certificate. So on the registration certificate, which is like an ICO document, when it comes to the Ministry of Justice, it clearly has the data it's got like a heading. It says
I remember because I sent that to the team. Yes,
so it's got a heading and it says data protection registration certificate, and part of the registration process it says data protection officer, and underneath there it says Ministry of Justice. Now obviously that's a different conversation, like regarding that's adequate information. But when I go for the registration certificate for Bradford Council, all right, that entry is missing in the on your registration document. So if once again, just give me 1 second. I'm just scrolling through now. I've gone to the search, and then it says download registration certificate. And when I've downloaded the registration certificate, that entry is missing. The data protection aspect of it. So
my understanding is, you see, Mr. Hussain, there's not a formal obligation, so there's no must in there. That's my understanding.
Okay.
You're welcome to obviously to challenge that, or first and foremost, obviously, as you know, ask City of Bradford as a formal request.
Yep.
If you're unhappy or you'd like our registration team to look into this more formally, we'd be happy to do so, because you've raised an interesting point, and that is the answer they've given to me.
Okay.
If you're not happy with it, you're more than welcome to challenge it.
Okay. So, when you say that they're not required to register that with yourself, but that according to obviously that particular section of the legislation, it does say you must publicize the contact details, and so that publicize, like I said, it can be open to interpretation, and that could be just simply an email address. In Bradford Council's case, I don't think they've publicized, but then it says register with the data controller. So most definitely they have to register with yourself, and it's the failure of the ICO to have so this is not a failure of the organizations. It's a requirement, a legal requirement, that they must publicize the data protection officer's details, and that can simply be a telephone number, email, I don't care what that is, but it should still be a requirement as part of the registration process. But as you can see from the registration certificate, in Bradford Council's case, they've not even bothered to provide that information.
Well, my view is I'm going to disagree, because on this occasion it says the controller must publish the contact details of the data protection officer. It does not say the controller must publish the contact details of the data protection officer, and the information commissioner must make these available on its public register. And the law is quite specific. Now, in my view, the most obvious place to provide these details is in an online privacy policy by an organisation. So again, it's a bit subjective, Mr. Hussain, but that's my understanding. They do vary
Yes, but the point here is the right to anonymity. I think that's the general principle that I'm looking to gain clarity on, is like the right to anonymity. Now, so I think, obviously, if we can just put this to one side, you've elected to give me your full name. Your colleague on when
Mr. Hussein, I'm going to have to interrupt you there, because are we moving on now? Are we finished with the public register? Are we moving on to something else? Because we have to establish a boundary here. I've answered your question now for the public register, so
Okay.
I'd like to close that.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
if you want to just carry on, but do be aware I am going into a meeting at 4:45.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well,
I don't want to rush you.
no, that's fair enough. So, in relation to this, I mean, I would obviously look to escalate this. So we've had a brief discussion, and I would like to obviously look to contest this with your registration office. Now, how would I proceed to do that? Would it be possible for you to forward to me the email that you've received, so I can liaise with them directly? Because I do need to. I just want consistency, you see, and as it presently stands, the law should be made clear and there should be consistency in the law. And presently, I can't seem that I'm not satisfied that there's been a consistency on the part of the ICO. So, would you please advise me on how I can proceed to contest the position of your registration team?
Yeah, of course. I think the best thing to do, and I hope you agree with this, you've got my full name. The contact details for the Information Commissioner's Office, as you know, is casework@ico.org.uk.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put your request in and say that we've had this conversation about registration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll be able to refer to it.
Uh-huh.
Tell us what you want to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative is to go on live chat tomorrow and challenge it, of course. That's
Okay.
your other option. But I'd say in this case, make it clear as to what you'd like to challenge and what you're not happy with.
Okay.
And we'll take it from there, because I can't disagree. As I said to you the other day,
Yes.
you'd raised an interesting point. I've done my best to try
Yes,
to
that's
find
fine.
out the information and the answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remain dissatisfied, you're more than welcome to raise it further.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you for that, Paula. And
You're welcome.
I understand that that's the limitations that have been put on a role, and I'm not going to discuss this matter any further. But it just there's one further point that I wanted to just discuss with yourself. It's just the fact that you are aware that these calls are not being recorded by you. Yes. And I just need to make you aware that I have recorded these calls, and and it's nothing malevolent. It's just my policy to record the calls, and I think we heard that's not a problem with me recording calls. I've made that quite clear with the ICO, and often what I do is I then publicize the calls on my YouTube channel. So as a matter of courtesy, because one of the things I wanted to do was that I take my particular rights very seriously, and one of my rights is the data protection rights, and also my right to complain. So I fully look to execute that. But having the right to complain comes with a certain responsibility I put on myself, which is also when you receive good service, you should obviously look to compliment somebody. So I just wanted to know. I mean, I wanted to obviously compliment you on the way that you've handled the call. I think it's in a very professional, courteous manner. And obviously, my next step would have been to escalate this, like yourself, as what I would expect as a standard of how I should be treated as a member of the public. So I feel that you are a good example to for the ICO to have somebody that they I'm satisfied with. Some of the questions I wanted to ask is that do you have any reservations in me covertly recording the calls?
Well, you've got to remember, haven't you, in line with data protection, that you can record for your own personal use, Mr. Hussein.
Yes, I understand this.
So you're going to further process that information, which actually means you're going to use it for a different purpose beyond your own personal use, are you not?
I think it's not for commercial use. I'm simply.
No, but you're putting it in the public domain.
Yes. I mean, this is what I wanted to say. First of all, on a personal basis, for you personally, do you personally have an issue with me recording conversations? personally?
If it's for your own personal use, but you weren't obliged to tell me that.
I'm not.
So it's kind of you to say at the start of the conversation, an individual has that option. If it's for your own personal use and purely for that use, for your notes, then I find that absolutely fine. However, what you've said to me now is that you're going to use it for a different purpose.
No. I'm once again. So we're all talking about interpretations. I'm not.
But did you not say you're going to put it onto YouTube?
Yeah, I'm saying if I put it onto YouTube, does that constitute not personal use? Because if I put it on my own Facebook, that's personal use, no?
Well, it depends on who's going to read it, doesn't it? Because if it's out there in the public domain, anybody beyond you could read it, couldn't they? So I think that purpose has changed.
Okay. So do you think that
is where it would be more difficult for me to agree, because I was of the opinion that we were having a conversation that was for your personal use. So
yes,
that's a different purpose.
Okay, well, yes, I mean, that's why I wanted to have this discussion with yourself, because in the past, what I've done is, it's my policy to always record calls when I ring the ICO, and I publicize them because it's in the public interest. There's nothing private about this. It's a public service, but you're saying by me publicizing them makes me a data controller. But if I'm just doing it for like a personal hobby. I'm just trying to help me understand that if it's a personal hobby of mine, that's still personal, isn't it? If it's my hobby, if I'm making money out of it, then I can understand that would make me a data controller. But I don't think
you would have to make any money out of it, would you? Because there are many organisations that are not for profit and they still register.
Yeah, but they're not private individuals. I'm a private individual. I have a hobby of let's say, so for example, some people, as you know, in the YouTube environment, they go around recording like police officers and publicizing it. That does not make them data controllers. So if I go into the city,
I would say that it does, because I could make a request, couldn't I, to somebody that's processing my personal information.
So thank you for that. What constitutes your personal information? Your full name is personal information?
Well, it identifies me as an employee at the Information Commissioner's office, doesn't it? It also relates to the information that I've given to you.
Yes.
But as I said to you earlier, I'm happy for you to have my name because it's part of my job role.
Yes, and like I said, that goes to and one of the things is, like, rather than me, like, obviously, can you understand, this is my time as well, for which I'm not being remunerating for. I'm doing this as like a hobby or as a personal activity. So nobody's paying me for my time. But conversely, yourselves are being paid to do a job, so your time is being remunerated. So that therefore affords me certain extra liberties, because first of all, I'm not here to, like, you necessarily have to give your personal details to when it's a public facing. I'm just, you know what it is, Paul, I'm just trying to understand where the line is. And I just want to be on the right side of the law, not on the wrong side of the law. And what I often find is that people, like, for example, in this position of the data protection officer, people want to go to work and have anonymity whilst doing a public role, and I don't think that's right. So, for example, if you're working in a private organization, maybe you have a right to privacy then. But it's just the aspect of what's public. When yourselves have taken on a job role that's public facing, me dealing with civilians or members of the public, you are by definition consenting to being recorded publicly. No, is that not correct? So that's what my.
I think, as I said to you the other day, Mr. Hussain, I think you raise some interesting points, and again, I must apologise for that. I do have to go to this meeting. But yes. Would you be happy to leave this with me, and I will ask if there is actually if there's an actual policy about what we have to provide to a caller or a customer in terms of names.
Yes. I mean, if I can leave that with you, and obviously, what I've done in the past when I've been dissatisfied with one of your colleagues, all I've done is forwarded the call recording to the ICO himself, the Information Commissioners the Information Commissioner themselves, because I got their email address, and I said, look, I want to lodge this complaint, and this is the call recording, because you don't record these calls. But But the question here is that that would still be a private video. That would still be a private call. That would not be in the public domain. But I wanted to ask, what would be the restrictions upon me publicizing our call recordings in the public domain, and would that make me a data controller? Would you be able to look into this and then get back to me?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll have a word about it, and I will find out for you if there is a policy about what we are providing to callers. So again, it's something I can learn from as well, Mr. Hussain. I'm going to have to end it there, as I say, I've got to join this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Paula.
Phone number. If it's okay with you, I'll come back to you when I've got the information.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much, Paula.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Mr. Hussain.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.